Radio. Every child is a national asset.
And they certainly are, right? So, certainly are national assets. This is Caps Radio, where it's lunch on Caps. I'm with, the geniuses right here. Jack, before we went into that break, you had a phenomenal question that was going to open up.
Yeah, it was an interesting question to say that, look, as far as you're concerned, right, what has the internet taught you about people?
It's a good question.
It's so rather than learning about people from the ones that I bump to on the daily, right, which means in my vicinity, literally you get exposure to all kinds of people across the globe. I love listening to podcasts. That's how I consume information. 2-hour-long interviews, 3-hour-long interviews, very honest conversation. You know, people from all over the world are interviewed. So I just get different perspective. I understand that. I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that as sure as I am about certain things, 100% adamant that I am sitting here, I'm wearing blue jeans. Somebody could have a different opinion about something, and they are equally adamant that they are correct. You know, things are based on perspective, where you come from, and your current state of mind. So I've just learned that we are all different, and we are all allowed with equal value and validity to be different and as crazy to the next person.
You know what? I'm sorry, I have to ask you this question. What is it, you just had to say that word, what is it about IT people that some of us who are not into IT, we always sort of relate you guys with the word crazy and what do they call them? Nerds, whiz kids. What is it? What part of that career path makes you guys being looked at as abalali, they crazy, they're always trying to work things out? Like, what is it? Is it really like that?
I should be asking you, man. I've only ever been me, right? I know what you're talking about, bro. I don't know what it is. I've loved computers from primary school. My sister brought a machine in Endlini. Machine that wasn't working at all at the house. And I just chilled there, typing different things into the machine until I taught myself a few commands in DOS, you know.
What do you mean? I like that.
Just messing around,
okay.
You know. So I've always had this passion. So I don't know if that makes me weird or a nerd. I need to ask my parents. I've just always been like this.
What do you think, Jack? What's your take?
We can be particular about it and say, how much time do you spend on the internet per day?
Yeah. Now that's what I want to do.
That'll give you a better understanding of how much time you spend compared to how much time.
So how much time do you spend on the internet on an average day? What's your average day like with you on the internet?
I have uncapped fiber, 25 megs line at home. Out of if I'm at home, I'm connected. Because I'm listening to something, I'm watching something, I educate myself via the internet, because the same information you get from Harvard and UCT is the same information that's available online. And those professors are getting interviewed, they're writing articles, information, it's out there. So I'm always connected, I'm always consuming some kind of information.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if always being connected means you're always learning, right?
Yes.
Is there still a point to physical universities and schools?
That also bring me to that question.
Because there's a point to online education for people who consume information like me, who wake up at funny times. Yes, there are people that consume information sitting down and who want that structure. So I'm not going to write them off. But I think going forward, it's an antiquated way of doing things, waste of money, and it's very inefficient. But I'm biased, of course, because I see solutions using and leveraging IT.
Wow. You got a question?
I'm much more interested in the behavior of the internet, because
yes.
Literally now with all these devices that we have, it tells you how many minutes you've spent on WhatsApp.
Yes.
That's a good question. Behavior.
How many minutes or hours you've spent on Safari or your browser. So that alone, like you were saying, they have this sort of a data that they can use to check what is it that you do on the internet. So luckily the people who use Apple, you know that information is safe, so we believe it is safe, and therefore it all boils down to say, how do we then maximize this internet that we have, right? Because you can have a resource, but if you don't know how to maximize it works against you.
Oh yeah.
I'm a runner. and most of the guys I interact with on Twitter, these are comrades, marathon runners. I've never met them, but they're my virtual coaches. Every single day we share dietary, we share all these sorts of things. So it's around how do you make information available
and work for you,
and works for you, because at the end of the day you might pick 2 or 3 things from 2 people and they might work for you. Sometimes they might not work for you. The virtual university that you're referring to, ideal future. Question is, as a country, are we ready for that?
Well, there's also issues about fake news. I mean, in as much as you want to be plugged in, you sometimes also want to be semi-plugged in. I mean, how can we tell, as the average Joe Slow, whether news is fake or not?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it you know, for example, Opera Mini News, I don't read it anymore because I find that there's so many unrealistic stuff there. How do you know if it's fake news or not?
So fake news is the problem. Deep fake.
And does cybersecurity have anything to do with fake news? Okay.
Yes. Fake news. Well, so the principles we spoke about under social engineering apply in fake news.
Oh.
Because to figure out that this link came from a fake person from FN, that's fake news. So that's a fake FNB bank agent, right? You need to identify that.
Okay.
So it's the same principle. How do you identify it? You hit on it. So you said you checked the broader site. You don't just look at the story. You look at the site. What are the other stories in the site? You know, are they just talking nonsense one way? Then chances are that that particular story is a problem. However, you are not always able to. Here's the reality. You are not always able to identify fake news, because even mainstream news that you believe is the reality, is fake news.
Opinionated,
but let's talk about Julian Assange, right? Julian Assange decides to release footage of US gunships shooting people on the ground that is suspected to be terrorists. I'm doing quotation marks.
Yes.
Terrorists. But it turned out to be Reuters, the reporting,
the publication. Yes,
the publication.
Yes,
it was a cameraman. He had a camera with a tripod that they identified as a rocket launcher. Blah blah blah.
Are you serious?
And this was reported across the news and disseminated as factual news. Julian Assange then reported the reality. When Iraq was bombed the second time and they killed Saddam after 9/11, they said it's because they had weapons of mass destruction. MSNBC, CNN, BBC, everybody carried that news as if it was reality.
Real, and it wasn't.
So if we want to talk fake news, what level of fake news are we talking, right? Because this is the world, it's rough. So we need to be more discerning about where we get information, which is why I love the internet. I always say triangulate your information. If you get it from one source, look for 2 other sources unrelated to that source that can confirm the information. That's the basic that I suggest.
Fantastic. Time right now, it's just 90 minutes before the top of the hour. Hey, Jack, you're right. These hours are a bit too short, man.
I keep saying.
We're going to take a short break. We'll get right back.
The water